Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Star Trek Discovery Season 1, Episode 10. It's called Despite Yourself. I feel like Connor says that to himself in the mirror every day. But full spoilers for the episode, as always.
Really? Wow. That's how we return after the break. First thing. Oh boy.
Well, we're in the dark timeline now. In the dark universe, so why not?
Why not?
Why not, indeed. So yeah, it's nice to be back. I think the show was just starting to maybe kind of find its feeting. Its footing, rather. Feeting.
Oh, this is off to a great start.
It's off to a great start, isn't it? It's, find its feet. Do you know what I think it was? I think I was going to say find its feet, and then I changed my mind at the last second to footing, but it didn't course correct.
Yeah.
But anyway, so obviously 7 was a lot of fun, and then we liked the mid-season finale because it was like it got to some interesting character stuff, and then it gave us this big ending where it was sort of going to finally capitalize on the teasing that there was other world and maybe mirror universes and whatnot. And that's kind of where we pick up with this. And I think there's some theories that we can say are been more directly referred to or brought up in the show itself, and we can talk about those and all that. I will say just broadly on its return, is I think this is continuing that it's finding its feet.
No, I agree. I like this episode a lot.
Yeah, it feels like the first chunk of the show was almost just like just setting up so they could start having fun later, and I feel like we're actually getting to that point now.
Honestly, I feel like the time away has made me, when I come back and I'm like, oh yeah, this actually has style that I'd kind of taken for granted almost, I guess. But it does have a style.
It does have a style. I'm still not entirely sure if I think it's the right style for Star Trek, admittedly, but it has a style. It absolutely
It's
has a style.
I enjoy in a space show, regardless.
Yes.
But I'm not. Whether it's for Star Trek is a different argument.
It's like the F-bomb that we had, in that one episode. It was like, whoa, I don't know if how I feel about that in Star Trek. That's a bit weird.
Yeah.
I just is Picard going to come out in the middle of Next Gen, start dropping F-bombs? I'm pretty sure he doesn't.
Screw you, you prick.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't. So we start, they're right here where we left them after the failed jump that left them stranded somewhere else. They didn't know where. Of course, we immediately went, this is another universe. The characters didn't make that conclusion yet. They get there relatively quickly. They start analysing things and, these are Klingon ships that have been exploded, but this is weird. Wait, why is there a Vulcan ship here attacking us? This is bizarre. What's going on? And then they quickly solve it because Saru kind of is like, the something readings of these things.
Quantum signature.
There you go. I'm glad you remembered what
I remember the technobabble.
Yeah. The quantum signature isn't the same as ours, which is strange because that can't change. Everything in the universe has the same quantum signature, which really begs the question why he looked for that so quickly. That'd be my one criticism there.
I mean, I don't know if he looked for it necessarily.
Okay.
Maybe it's just on a list of all the stuff, and it was just like, oh, hang on, that's different.
I feel
it's something that you're so used to seeing the same.
Because I feel like if you're going to specifically check that'd be the last thing you check, because it'd be the last thing you try to rule out, is we're in a different universe.
Specifically check, but if it's just given on a list, I imagine if you're used to seeing it always the same figure, your eye would be drawn to it being different.
Alright, sure. Yeah, I'll accept that. But it's like, that's true, and nothing does have a different signature. Unless, of course, we're not in our universe anymore. And I was like, okay.
Cut to title credits.
I was borderline almost cheesy for this show, the way he said that.
Yeah.
But I dig it. I'm fine with it. I will say I appreciated the recap at the start because typically, week to week, I don't really care that much. But I think after the time off,
after the break, I typically enjoy them. Yeah.
It just to refresh your memory and let things click into place a little bit again. Because I don't think if you'd asked me what the plot of the last episode was before we watched this, I'd probably gotten to it eventually with a lot of and ahhing and
I'd have remembered the jumps and the the lot of jumps and the
ending bit. The ending and the jumps I remembered, but it was quickly mentioned in this, and I was like, oh yeah, that's right, that was this thing. But I don't think I would have mentioned, they were trying to figure out the cloaking technology. I don't think I'd have remembered that until they mentioned it. So that's why I kind of appreciate the just the update. Back in the swing of it. So, where do we start with the rest of it? First of all, I'll just flat out say this. There's a shock death in this episode, which I did not see coming.
Me either.
Speaking of shock deaths, Connor's going to die halfway through this show. I like how he failed to hit the mute button the first time when we heard that.
I couldn't get down to it. I was like, nope, I'm just dying.
Because Stamets is in a, he's out of it. He's like, he's having like the random little babble of like nonsense, which obviously we're going, okay, that actually makes sense in some way. We just don't understand it yet. Because one of them is more obvious is, oh, the enemy's here. That makes more sense.
Yes, exactly.
But you understand everything he's saying probably does actually make sense in some way. We just don't understand all the parts yet.
Just maybe not yet. Yeah.
But he's like that, and Culber's got him under, and Lorca's like, nah, you can't be his doctor. You're not objective because you're in a relationship with him. You have to and obviously being objective is part of medicine. You have to make tough calls.
It's not an unreasonable request from
the captain. It's not. Admittedly, he does have a point when he fires back. Yeah, but you asked me to keep some things hush hush. So he's not being completely out of line. Well, he's out of line in terms of chain of command, but he's not. He does have.
He's understandable when he argues back.
Yeah, he has dirt on the captain. Basically, that's what I'm saying. So you understand why he's saying that. But it's actually Tyler who comes to see him. Tyler, of course, he went to see Laurel last episode because he started having this connection. Now, I actually wanted to talk about this specifically because I remember obviously there's a lot of theories that this was actually Vok. And we debated this for a long time throughout the show. We weren't feeling it. And eventually there was some stuff towards the end of the mid-season where we're like, okay, there's definitely hints that something went down, some surgery, maybe this is not silly. But I think one of the things that I said at the time was like, I'm okay with the twist happening, but I hope that it's not just that he is Vok and he's turned into a human, because I think one of the specific things that I brought up was that I felt like it undermined a lot of the progress that Tyler had made, because his character actually had a bit of an arc. He had this troubled backstory, and I felt it just being, oh, he's just actually Vok, would rob that of the drama that it actually
because it'd be just an act, and that's like, okay, well, that was all kind of pointless then.
So I think I maybe even got kind of specific and said, oh, maybe if it's both, like Vok's also in there, like they added them to him or something like that. I don't know if I said that wording, but I think I said, oh, if it's kind of like a mix of them, I'll be cool with it. But my point would be is that Tyler has to be real and had to actually have the history. And sure enough, actually, give them credit, that seems to be kind of where it's going.
They haven't outright said it's Vok, but it's definitely a Klingon.
Because he goes to see Laurel again, and even lets her out of her cell so she'll explain, and she's obviously speaking very lovingly, and she's like, oh, you're in there. And at one point, he kind of has this weird flash where he actually does like say stuff and like points the gun at her and sounds very Klingon-y, but then he kind of snaps out of it again, and then he's over across the room, and he's like, whoa, what just happened?
Yeah, she starts saying a prayer about the star ship.
To wake him up, basically, is the thing. It's like a trigger phrase.
It's like a trigger phrase, yeah, exactly. I mean, they even used the phrase brainwashing somewhere in the episode.
Yeah, and she's surprised it doesn't work. So I like the idea that we've got this human spirit fighting the Klingon inside, and he's trying to keep hold of himself and whatnot. But like I say, it does kind of sound like, because even later on, it's actually Culber who says, oh, there's these theories that maybe like a consciousness can be added on top of another one. And I'm like, okay, I like this better. I like the way they're doing this.
Yeah, so I'm going, okay. They tell us, okay, his bones were crushed and reshaped. So it's like, okay, so this presumably was the Klingon body reshaped into the human body.
Yeah.
So where's the human consciousness come from? Was that one of the prisoners? Just that they took and added on?
I think it's the real him. I think what they probably did it's probably still, the body's probably still partly his as well. Like, I think he still looks like him. I don't think this is like a fake appearance. I would guess that, he was crushed, and the Klingon body's essentially inside a human skin almost. Like, I don't know if they're going to go full on, like, he can actually, like, come out and, like, reform, but...
Okay. See, the way I was reading that was, they took the Klingon body and crushed it and made it smaller and, and then molded it into a human body, not put one over the top of it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It's hard to, like, say for sure what they mean by this. Like, I'm almost even tempted to think that... I don't know. I mean, it does. The way he says it, it sounds like, they've manipulated the body down. But then I'm wondering if... Because they talked about his organs, and I was wondering if they'd actually... It was still his body, but they'd replaced all of his organs with the Klingon organs. And that's why they all had this protective layer around them or something like that to, like, shield it or some such. I don't know. But no, like I say, I think Ash is still a real person, and, like,
I'm wondering, though, if Ash was a prisoner... And they took his consciousness and put it over the top of this body that they took, let's say it is Vok. They took Vok's body, crushed it and molded it to look like Tyler, and then
Yeah.
put his consciousness over the top.
Yeah, I think that's the most likely outcome, given what was said in this episode.
Yeah.
But like I say, I think he looks like he did. Like, if it's not his original body, then he's modelled to look like him, so that
Yes, definitely.
he thinks it's him. So yeah, so I prefer this because he's still a real person. He still has a real history, and everything he's going through is still real. It still means something because it's not just like he's going to instantly be evil. But clearly, the Klingon, presumably Vok, is starting to take control. It also makes sense because remember we thought it was interesting that L'Orelle was like giving herself up to Starfleet. We thought that was an interesting plot point. Although now it's like no, she wanted to get taken because she wants to get close to him and trigger him, and it's more nefarious purposes at this point. But of course, when Culber's going through all this with them, and he like points all this out, he's like, "Oh, you can't go out on a mission like this. You know, like we have to ground you. We have to understand what's going on here. Like we have to research this, scan you." He immediately kind of like clicks into Klingon mode, if you will. The Klingon takes over and snaps his neck.
Yeah.
And I was like, I obviously it was built at this point because up until he started getting agitated about not being let go out on the mission, the scene didn't play like it was going to lead to like a dark ending. Like, it just felt like
no, not at all.
It felt like a normal scene where they were debating what could be going on, and then he started getting agitated, and I thought, okay, it's going to end maybe with like him being hurt or something, or he's going to get scary, and I thought maybe this would be a scene where Tyler's going to catch himself, where he's going to be like, he'll realise he's getting angry, and he's like, wait a minute, this isn't me, like, what, you know, I thought they were going to like start to tease that he's getting stronger, but no, he just steps in and snaps neck, and I'm like, Jesus, I thought he was like a main character who was going to stick around.
Yeah, it was a surprise.
And obviously, it kind of like, it's kind of really bittersweet as well, because like Stamets never gets to say goodbye or like see him again, like.
No.
So it has
he just says, "Oh, the enemy's here."
Yeah, it has that really sad tinge to it because of that. So Stamets is definitely surviving. I mean, admittedly, he was the more likely one to survive out of the two, just because he's the bigger actor, the more main character. But I feel like I could have seen a possibility where Stamets did die eventually, maybe at the end of the season, and
eventually, yeah.
and we had Culber stay around, and like that helped his progression, and he developed more as a character because of losing him.
I still think Stamets might die at some point because we need to eliminate the spore drive eventually, I think.
Oh yeah, I can see that. I can see it being eliminated in another way though. Like maybe it gets taken out of him or something.
Yeah, it's possible. But I think killing him is an almost easy solution for the show.
I don't know if they want to lose him as a character though. I think that's why they wouldn't
exactly.
do it.
Yeah, it's a fair question.
Because he's one of the more interesting characters and and it's funny because I think a lot of the characters suffered on this show from not being that likable at first. I saw a really interesting theory that the pilot of this hurt this show a little bit. Like, would it have almost been more interesting to just start at episode 3 and just have the mysterious backstory of Michael and like get to know her before we find out exactly what the mistakes were and what she did? Would that have been a bit more interesting?
I get the question, but for me, no.
Really? I'd have said yes. I actually kind of agree with it.
Okay, no. For me, I don't really need that mystery for her.
No, it's not that I need a mystery, but I think it suffered because she was immediately unlikable, because we didn't get to know her before she did all these really extreme things. So she's defined by those extreme actions for us. Whereas now I'm starting to like her a bit more as the show goes on. But I think if you started with letting us get to know her first, and then telling us specifically why everyone hates her, would have maybe worked better. I don't know.
I don't think she was that unlikable though. I don't think she was immediately super likable either. But like she is now, she's definitely grown to be more likable.
Oh, maybe unlikable's harsh. I feel like actually, I guess I'll just say I don't think she had much of a character in the first episode.
No, that's fair.
She's just there for plot, I guess, is what I'm saying. And I think it's more noticeable now that she is starting to have more of a character and be more likable, and we see the struggle that's going on in her. I don't know. I think
I get it, but I think for me, at least, the idea of before was very much, it was her Vulcan upbringing kind of coming through. She's just on career path. She kind of has no character because she's just doing her stuff. And then it's now after she's broken by all that she becomes more human and more interesting and more likable.
Potentially, I don't know if that necessarily justifies the way it's done though, in terms of writing.
That's fair.
Like you can logically say this is why this works, but that doesn't necessarily mean it works as a show.
No, that's just kind of taste and preference at that point, I think.
I think I stand by that. I do think it should have started at episode 3, and I think most of 1 and 2 should have been flashbacks later.
No, fair enough.
I think I'd stand by that. Now that I've seen more of the show, I actually think I would say that. Because, again, we said this at the time, but it's really weird how it's like this prequel movie before the show actually starts. Because we kept, even at the end of that first double episode, we said, oh, this is weird, because I feel like the show is going to start properly next week now.
Yeah, it is, definitely.
We felt that at the time, which is a really bizarre thing to feel like, that, oh, now we get the pilot. Like that.
No, I stand by that feeling. And it's not perfect in that sense. It has a disconnect in that sense, but I still wouldn't have just started at 3, for me at least.
Well, I think you'd rewrite it a little bit to make it work as the first episode, but
yeah,
for the most part, I think that would have been a wiser choice. I think it would have drawn people into the show a little bit. Like I say, having a little bit of the mystery to go along with it would have maybe eased us into the world a little bit more. Because I mean, I think it's fair to say that the reception for the show was generally negative at the start.
Yeah, I mean, instead of teasing these mysteries, I think that mystery there with what happened, what out of some of these mysteries that we have got now that we're kind of just starting to play with, I'd have maybe started teasing them a bit earlier instead.
Maybe. But like I say, I think the characters are, because a lot of them you don't even meet till the third episode, and then, like you say, Michael, the one we do focus on, the first one, doesn't get a lot of stuff to really actually make her feel like a character. She's just kind of doing all these plot things, and they feel kind of out of nowhere in some respects because of that. But yeah, where was I? Aye, so we've lost the Doctor.
Neck snapping, yeah.
Yeah, neck snapping. Surprise! Yeah. I was genuinely shocked when it happened. I went, oh well, because at first I thought, oh, he'll do something, but it won't quite kill him. But again, this is just a split second as he's walking towards him, and then it's just like, nope, neck snapped. I'm like, oh well, he's dead.
There's not much time to really consider it, is there? It just happens.
No.
And I like that he doesn't seem to remember it either, because when he goes up and meets the captain and Michael, and the captain goes, oh, where were you? And he goes, I don't know. You could look at it as he's just kind of covering. But I think he's being genuine, is he doesn't remember it. In the same way that when he was talking to Laurel and he was like, what's going on? What just happened? I don't think he remembers this happening.
I don't think he remembers, but I think he feels that he did something bad. I think he has a sense that something bad happened.
Quite possibly.
The way his demeanour, the way he was acting, the way like everything about it felt like he knew something bad went down. And I feel like he is covering, he just doesn't know what he's covering for. If that makes sense.
I don't think he remembers doing it though. I really don't. I think he's being honest when he says that. But
we'll see how that goes. I feel like he's the one who I see dying now. At the very least, he's going to go back to Klingon, and
he'll the way I see it, he either goes back to Klingon and becomes a villain, or he goes out in a sacrifice because he doesn't want to be the Klingon.
Either way, I think this actor's not for season 2. That's my guess.
I agree.
That's my prediction based on this. I think the actor's gone for season 2.
Yeah.
But hey, so that's the thing. So let's talk.
Just on that last note, an interesting possibility is, what if this process that they did to his body is irreversible? So if he goes back, the Klingon mind takes over again, but he's stuck in this body. That could be interesting.
Oh yeah, that could. Yeah.
And then seeing him in the Klingon society, but. And the way that they look at him differently, perhaps.
Okay, that's a possibility. My money's still on the actor not being around next season.
I'd still put money on that as well, but it's just it's a potential outcome.
That's what my money's on, but I agree there's a possibility of that. So let's talk about alternate universes and
the fun stuff.
So here's the thing. So they deal with this thing, and they look into like, oh, hey, we're different over here. We're like a fascist empire regime, and all the other races in the galaxy have all banded together to take us out. So it's basically like, if you're watching the DC shows, like Crisis on Earth X just happened, like this is basically Crisis on Earth Star Trek X, or whatever you want to call it. So obviously, I was sort of, at first I was like, okay, this isn't necessarily the mirror universe, right? This could just be an alternate universe of some kind. It doesn't have to necessarily be that one. Certainly, it doesn't seem like this is the one that Lorca wanted to come to. Nothing in the episode tells me that he was expecting this.
See, this is the thing. I don't know, because I don't know if he's just covering because he's always in front of people. We never see him on his own.
That's true.
And we know the fate of the captain to some extent in this world.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, it could be him. I think I go back to his surprise at the end of the last episode, though, where he was surprised where they ended up as well.
He does seem to have been, and like I said, I don't know if he's just acting because there's a crew of people stood there.
Well, I mean,
But
there is acting going. Jason Isaacs is acting.
shut up.
Just for the record. But the one, so the one thing, obviously, correct me if I'm wrong, but the little salute they do, their version of the Hitler salute that they do,
Yeah,
was that something in Mirror Mirror? I
I
can't
don't
remember. I don't
recall.
remember. It seems familiar though. It feels familiar. This
Yeah, but
version of it.
the thing is it familiar just because it's so
Yeah.
it's so similar to that you kind of just go, yeah, okay, I see him
So,
doing that.
but here's the thing. Here's what was the one. Because again, we have not seen all of Star Trek yet. We're on season 2 of the original series. We're working our way through. We'll get to cool things that I'm sure this is calling back to later. But the one thing that stuck out to me is they bring up this ship, the Defiant, the
Yeah,
USS Defiant.
I meant to Google it, but I forgot.
This is the thing though. I recognised that name. I knew I'd heard of this ship, and I went, "Oh, was that ship in Mirror Mirror?" I couldn't remember exactly. So I did look it up. I was like, okay, where did I know this ship? Because I definitely know that ship. I've heard of the Defiant. And fun enough, the first thing that came up was, oh, it's in Deep Space Nine. And I went, okay, well, I've not seen Deep Space Nine, so I don't know it from that. However, it also appeared in Star Trek First Contact, which I have seen. So, now that doesn't necessarily confirm it's Mirror Mirror, but it definitely, like, the fact that they bring up that this went here, I've got a funny feeling that in Deep Space Nine, that ship ends up in the Mirror Mirror universe. Because I know Deep Space Nine does a Mirror Mirror callback episode.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's enough for me to assume that this is that universe specifically.
That was the point that I assumed that, okay, no, this probably is, because it sounds like, oh no, this is something that happened in another show that, you know,
Yeah.
that if everyone who's been watching all the Star Treks, like a lot of people watching this
Yeah.
will recognize that.
So I feel like that's confirming that is this universe, at least, or if not this universe, at least one that they've brought up in another show before. Because they mentioned like that. Basically, what it is there's a record when they get the computer from this destroyed ship, which is half Klingon, half Vulcan. Again, they're all. This is weird. Why are they all working together? Because human beings are that bad. That's why. Can't blame them. We're an awful species. But they find out in the records, like, there was this basically news story of once there was this ship called the Defiant that came from our universe that they knew about. And I'm like, oh, this is interesting because this might be the future in this universe as well, technically, depending how you look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when in the timeline this happens in Deep Space Nine. I don't know if it's like maybe something from history, so maybe it isn't the future and it's just this happened in the past in Deep Space Nine or something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think because they're USS, obviously, as we're used
In
to.
fact,
But
it makes sense that it's in the past because First Contact takes place in the past. Because First Contact, if you've not seen First, I won't spoil much of the movie, but the main plot of the movie is that we actually end up back in like the year like 22 something, because it's literally about when humans first ran into Vulcans. First Contact, when they meet aliens.
yeah, it's kind of in the name, isn't it?
So that's part of the plot, and I think the Defiant is in that part of the. So it makes sense that the Defiant is in the past whenever something happens to it. So, yeah, okay, nailed it.
I was just assuming that, to be honest.
Close enough. Yeah.
There's nothing in this to make me assume it's the future based on the fact that there's other ships that they recognize.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and the same people. In fact, so at last few episodes we speculated that when Stamets called Tilly Captain, we thought, oh, maybe he's seeing the future. It seems instead he was seeing this universe.
Yeah.
And we get straight-haired Tilly with like this gold like dress on, dressing armor over her shoulder.
Blonde at the front of the hair.
Yeah, really, and they see this, and I love it. Like, this is where I feel like they're finally having fun with stuff, because obviously, same with episode 7 with the time jump stuff, but I feel like everyone on the bridge, their reaction to like Captain Tilly, and then Tilly freaking out about it, and then of course they get the call from this other ship, the Shenzhou even, in fact, that still exists in this world, because Michael was the captain of this ship, and now she's presumed dead because Lorca killed her apparently, and he's on the run for her murder. Which comes up later, of course, but because he's about to be on the comms, and Michael's like, no, cancel that order, Lorca, you're a wanted fugitive in this world.
Yeah, you can't answer this.
Yeah, Captain is Tilly, so he's like, well, Tilly, you step up. And Tilly sits there, she's like, oh no, oh god, and over this, and obviously it's meant to be like Nazi Starfleet, so it's like, Frederick, Discovery, what are you doing out here? Blah 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 blah, and she's like, technical failures, and she's like speaking really quick and really hyper.
Like, what the hell?
Yeah, what the heck? I mean, hell. Very funny stuff. of course, we get the fantastic callback here where she basically tries to like pass it off to Lorca. So she's like, my chief engineer will tell you. And then Michael quickly goes, hey, we don't know who you are in this world yet, so disguise your voice. And so again, chief engineer, what does he do? He does the Scottish accent for Scotty. Nice. It was a nice reference.
It was. And I knew he was going to do an accent because I know Jason Isaacs is fantastic at accents. Like,
Doesn't
you
surprise
should
me.
hear some of the ones he does. If you see the Death of Stalin from last year, he has a terrifyingly accurate Yorkshire accent. He sounds like Sean Bean, basically. It's so surreal to watch.
It was a nice callback to Star Trek, or call forward, I guess, technically.
Yeah.
In this sense. So no, it was a fun little moment. I was grinning the entire time, and he does a pretty good accent. To be fair to him as well.
Yeah, even you can't knock this one.
Oh no, I can't.
Usually you do.
If anything, I don't even think I can replicate it because he intentionally puts on this very fast kind of. I need the script in front of me to see what the line was to actually do it because he spoke so fast. It was good stuff. Technobabble and whatnot.
Yeah, and then you have the moment after where they finish the call until he's just sat there and he's like, "Come on then."
He stares at her for like a minute.
Yeah, chair.
And I love how people keep calling her captain throughout the episode, and they get their synthesizers and whatnot to like make them the uniforms, so because they eventually have to show themselves, so they make all the uniforms and the badges and
all this gold-plated glory, repaint the ship.
Yeah, everything else. Yeah, they change it to the ISS thing, which might actually be maybe if we go back to Mirror, it might have been the ISS Enterprise in the other universe that they mentioned.
Probably.
I can't remember, but it makes sense that it would be if we're going with that. And yeah, so Tilly, and she's practicing. She's practicing the whole time, and then when she does actually have to talk to the other captain, she's just full on, "How dare you say this?" And I would cut off your tongue and lick my boot with you, and just all these
names as well. That she's got a fantastic, and it ends with just Captain Killer, and she's like, "Yeah, that one's not so great."
Yeah, it's, especially at the moment where just before they're going to. Before they go to leave, before she talks to the other captain, she's like, "Yeah, let's go and talk to these assholes." And she's like, "Is that too much?" And then Lorca's like, "No, just here, that's enough."
In this universe, that's just right.
Yeah. So no, Tilly doing all this is great. Again, it feels like they're finally trying to just have some fun with the concepts and have fun with these ideas.
Even just the point where she makes jokes about her hair. It's like, her mother would be like, "Enjoy that it's so controlled."
Yeah,
because we've seen what it's like, and we've had that joke before about how it's just ridiculous.
Because I think one of the genuine criticisms you can have of the first chunk of the episodes is that it does take itself so seriously.
Yeah.
And I think 7 was kind of the start of that kind of getting stripped away. And obviously we had the hints of the mirror stuff, and we liked that, and we liked some of the stuff it was doing, but I think it was taking itself to... And I feel like I'm glad it's having fun now. I'm glad
I'm getting to a point now where I'm going, oh yeah, I enjoy this show.
Yeah, because this did not appear in our top 10 new shows of the year for 2017, and I think quite rightly, I don't think it was up there. But if it keeps going the way it's going, I mean, it won't be the new shows in 2018, it can't be the new shows twice, but maybe we'll have a much better opinion of it.
It's one of those where if the last chunk of this season sticks like this sort of tone, and we'd had all of this before Christmas, it might have been enough to get on the top 10 new shows.
Yeah, it may have been. Yeah.
Or it definitely would have been in contention at least.
Certainly it was more trouble than some of the other new shows, and it's taken a bit more time for it to find itself. Admittedly, it got some leeway because it's called Star Trek, and we give it more...
Yeah, and it's not too much time, because, 7 episodes isn't that much.
Oh, no, of course not.
Really, and also, even when we're going, oh, yeah, it wasn't great, it was still reasonable space sci-fi. It was never bad.
Oh, yeah, there was stuff we liked. There was some episodes that I thought was... I thought the one with Harry Mudd and the cell for most of the episode, I remember feeling that one was a bit of a drag plot-wise. But whatever. But no, so I guess what we're saying is we like the 7, we like 9, and we like this one quite a bit. So we're on the upswing, which is nice.
Yeah, was 8 the one on the planet as well?
Yeah, which was still solid, but it wasn't as good as the 2 around it. I felt
it wasn't as good as the 2 around it, but I think it was still better than the first 6 or so.
Yeah, no, that's I completely agree with that. So of course we get this plan where Michael and Locke are like, right, I'll pretend to be... I'm just presumed dead, so I'll say it was my cover, because I was trying to find you, and you can be this prisoner, and we'll go over there, because we want to find out how this Defiant got back, or how it came here, because they did it without the spore drive, so that means we can get back without the spore drive, because obviously Stamets is in a catatonic state, doing mumbo-jumbo.
He's a bit out of it right now.
So, they got this plan, it's very risky, and they go over, And again, Michael seems to be just relishing and being a bitch to everyone over there. So he's like, "Oh, screw you." Obviously, the one guy who's the captain was like on the bridge of the Shenzhou, and she has this guilty kind of thing because obviously he's dead because of her, and. But in this world, of course, everyone tries to look. Again, this is kind of what really confirmed this is the Mirror Mirror universe, because that was the big thing in Mirror Mirror, is that they constantly try to, basically have a coup constantly for the captain's chair.
Assassinate
Yeah,
and that's how we know Tilly got her captaincy by, I think it was, killing the previous captain while they were in bed.
Yeah.
They stabbed them while they were drunk, and poisoned or something.
The idea that Tilly would like lure a man into bed and then kill him is like so unlike this Tilly that we know.
Yeah.
Like I can't imagine this Tilly working up the nerve to ask a guy out on a date. Never mind like seducing him into the bed to like, yeah, I'm going to stab you in the back.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, so they go over there and they want to put Lorca in these torture chambers, and Michael's against it at first because it's like really, obviously savage. But she kind of goes, "All right, fine, you better do this properly. If he's dead when I come back, before I get a chance to kill him myself, like,
Yeah, he's mine to kill, not yours."
Yeah. So because we actually end the episode where she's in the captain's chair, he's in the torture chamber, and all this stuff, like,
Yeah, and she has to fight for her captain's chair, even though it was hers anyway.
Yeah, she has to, fight off the knife attack and kill him in the elevator. And then when she walks into the bridge, they all just start clapping, like, yeah, yes.
Yeah, captain's back.
Because he mentions that they never looked at him the same way they did to her. Like, they never feared him the same way that they feared her.
Yeah, which is why he goes for the attack, because he kind of just took it by default because she went missing. He didn't earn the captaincy like everyone else.
I do like, again, from a character perspective, it makes her question herself. Like, wait, I'm like this bad in this universe, and like she's obviously questioning how good she is in her universe because of everything she's done. She feels guilty anyway. But then the idea that on this world she's like the most savage, like,
Yeah, but I feel it must make her feel a little bit better that Tilly's this as well. And if Tilly is, this nice person in her world.
Sure, but that doesn't really matter. It's irrelevant almost because it's just about her looking at herself. And
no, I get that. I feel like just if she's going, oh, am I this bad on this universe? Like there's a bit. Well, at least everyone else is awful too. That's got to be there.
Well, oh, sure, when she rationalizes it, but I don't think it. When she sees this and feels it, I don't think she cares about that. Like it's just making her look at herself. I think everyone's going to feel that way. I think Tilly feels that way looking at herself, but I think Michael, because she's already done this horrible thing and she feels this guilt, is just going to magnify that and amplify it so much more. I think that's going to be a big thing coming out of this arc where we get back and we've all went through this and we've seen who we could have been to an extent. It wouldn't surprise me if we get some other evil versions of characters. It's worth mentioning the redhead who has the tech in the side of her head usually.
Yeah.
Doesn't have the tech. She's on the ship.
She got that from the Battle of the Binary Stars, didn't she? Because she was normal before that.
Yeah. So that was just interesting things like that to see. And yeah, just having fun with all this other universe stuff because they go off and Michael's trying to kill time and of course Tyler's worried that he's going to go nuts. So because we actually, the last moment before we cut to Lorca being tortured is Tyler and her basically just sort of saying they'll be there for each other, and that's kind of a moment. But of course for us, it's very bittersweet because we know he's kind of doomed now. Like,
one way or another, yeah.
Yeah, even if it's as simple as he snapped his neck, he snapped Culber's neck. Like, I feel like at the very least, there's consequences to that. Even though it wasn't really him, but at least they'll see him as a liability because he could snap into this or
Oh, definitely.
Dark days are coming, is what I'm saying. For anything Tyler's concerned, because we never saw them find the body as well. Like, we don't know if he stashed it somewhere.
Oh yeah, because they just rushed off, didn't they?
Yeah,
as well. So yeah.
So I'm actually curious to see. Obviously, we'll stick with them in this ship, but I'm curious to see our own ship as well and see.
I'm sure we'll jump between them.
Yeah, see Saru and Artelli and what they're up to.
I think it's actually really a bold choice. The fact that we do end with we're splitting our cast. We're on two separate ships. And that's like the final shot is the other ship jumping away.
I'll be honest, not counting maybe episode 7, which is a really good tight episode. I feel like this is the first time I felt like no, we're actually doing a plot that they were building to for this. Like, how do I put this and make this make sense? It almost feels like even though things connected and it was all kind of building to the overall war, it still kind of felt like we don't really have that much plot really outside of, oh, we're helping the war effort. It was all just kind of there as a backdrop so we could do the plots we had. So there were still kind of week by week plots.
They were, yeah.
In a weird way. Whereas now I feel like, no. This is something we'll remember about this season. This was kind of ultimately the point, is all the stuff we're going to do with this universe stuff.
Yeah, I expect this to be the back half of this season now. It's just going to be pretty much just this.
Yeah. And that's cool, but it kind of feels like we're finally getting... It almost kind of like, just to compare it to like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1, where, they're doing all these episodes for a lot of the season, and then it's like, oh, now we get to the point of the season. This is what it was all about, really. In the last like 6-7 episodes or whatever it was of that season. It kind of has that feel to me a little bit.
No, I agree, and I have to say this makes me appreciate where they put the Christmas break even more, because we know they pushed it an episode originally. Yeah. And if this back chunk of the season is all this, so it's neatly split into before and after. I think that was absolutely the right choice, even though we thought that for the last episode anyway. Yeah,
we said that at the time, that cliffhanger worked way better than the one before it.
Yeah,
because it was like, oh, interesting, a big new idea. See you next, after Christmas. It felt like a nice natural breaking point. And I know some people are pissed that it's on a streaming service and it's not binged like all at the same time. Honestly, though, I feel like we have so many of them from Netflix and Amazon. I'm glad that this is weekly.
Yeah, because Hulu do it weekly as well, and I'm okay with that. So not everything needs to be a binge.
I'll be honest, I wouldn't mind if Netflix and Amazon started going weekly, because I feel like it's easier for us to cover when everything's weekly.
No, that's the thing. Yeah. The cynic in me says places like Hulu and this, they actually do it weekly because, okay, well, you have to pay multiple a month subscription to get it all. You can't pay 1 month and then
unless you want to wait to the end.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Unless you want to wait. Sure, if you do that, then you're cheating the system. But if you want it at the same time as everyone else, is that. Whereas with Netflix, they've got so much content anyway that they don't need to bank on that, because they're like, well, we'll give you something every month anyway.
Oh yeah, we literally have a new Netflix show about every 2 or 3 weeks for the next like 3 months. We've already seen them, map them out, and we're like, okay,
so exactly.
We've got Lemony Snicket here, we've got Jessica Jones there, we got that show 7 Seconds to Try here, we got Altered Carbon there. Like, they're all kind of mapped out, and we've got them all lined up. And it's like, so even if they did go weekly, like, I'd be getting it every month anyway. Like, it's fine. Right,
exactly. Yeah. That's why I think Netflix especially don't need to. I know Amazon typically release all at once, but the Grand Tour, their Top Gear thing, that's weekly. I think for that reason, where they're like, no, the casual audience who we want to get just for that, who weren't interested in the other stuff, we want them to pay for 3 months worth.
What, to milk it? Yeah. And after 3 months, they might forget to cancel as well.
I think that's the plan.
I would actually love to know what percentage of these subscription services are just people who forgot to cancel.
Well, this is the thing. It's, as well as forgot to cancel, there's the chance that, okay, you keep them for 1 month, you got them there. But if you got them for 3 months, they get used to the service.
Oh, I mean,
they get used to the other stuff. That's
ideal. That's the obvious thing they want to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm curious as to how many people in just 1 month, like in January on Netflix or Amazon, how many people who paid for that month only did because they forgot to cancel it in time. That fascinates me, what that percentage would be.
Yeah, I feel like it's higher with yearly subscriptions.
Yeah, because you obviously forget. Although arguably, because it's a much bigger amount, it's on your mind because it's more important.
No, it's true. I feel like it's ones that, like Amazon Prime, where you get the month free trial and then you pay for the year. I think a lot of people get that year because they accidentally ran over, and then we're like, oh well, I got a year now.
So no. That was a good episode. I'm digging it.
I enjoyed it a lot.
They're definitely doing more interesting things. They're poking at more interesting plots, which I'm happy. I mean, as much as I'm kind of ragging on the first 6 episodes, it wasn't a painful experience to get through them, but it was definitely not all there. It felt like something was missing, that something was disjointed.
It wasn't awful. It was definitely more than watchable, but it wasn't a good TV show.
Yeah. Whereas it's starting to feel like we're getting there. And, because there was a scene in this one where they're talking about the plan and they're giving the intel about what they know about this universe. And it was like Saru, Michael, Lorca, Tyler, Tilly, all around the table. And I'm like, we actually kind of have a crew now that I know all the people. Yeah. Whereas for a long time we didn't, because they were kind of introducing them gradually, which I can see the argument for doing that, but it did kind of feel weird for a Star Trek show at first.
It's one of those that works in the long run.
Yeah.
Because, once we're in season 2, that won't matter.
Yeah.
But at the start, it kind of feels like, okay, we're kind of moving this much slower than I'm used to for this sort of thing.
Yeah, so No, I'm curious to see how that evolves and how we feel. Maybe we get some of these bridge crew people that we barely know, like because there's like 3 or 4 faces that I always recognise in the bridge now, but I don't know any of their names. Or
Yeah, the redhead with the tech is the most prominent one.
redhead with tech, the weird alien dude with the makeup,
Yeah, yeah,
uh, and there's an Asian guy and a black guy that I always
yeah.
see as well. I always notice them, but like I mean, again, I can't tell you names of any of these characters because they're just always in
They're
the
just
bridge.
there. Yeah,
Yeah. Uh, It does add something though to always recognise the faces though, because even for like essentially a red shirt, because they're always there. At least if something ever happens to them, I'll be like, no, I've been seeing them since episode 2 or whatever. So
yeah. It might not have a massive impact in the
yeah,
same way that one of your main characters does, but you'll acknowledge it at least.
hey, it's a step up from the red shirts of the old days. I'll say
It
that,
is.
where
It
they're just
is.
introduced on an episode to be killed off.
Exactly.
But hey, so there you go. That's episode 10 of Star Trek Discovery. Let us know what you thought of it in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Get us on the Twitters at mail_fuzz for channel updates. If you want to support the show on the channel, head over to patreon.com/mailfuzztv. There'll be a link to that in the description. Some other useful links down there as well. Also worth mentioning, like we said earlier, we are week to week reviewing the original Star Trek. We're on season 2. We're about 2/3 through that. And we are going to go into the movies and then next gen once we finish that. So if you're interested,
We're in it for the long haul.
yeah, that'll take years to go get through all the shows and stuff, obviously. But we're doing that. So if you want to see our sort of like first time experience with the old episodes as well at the same time, maybe you'd be interested in that as well. So, but there you go. So that is Discovery episode 10. So once again, thank you for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?